Hey guys, welcome to our second part of our Star Wars discussions. Today we're going to be talking about Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
My name is Ricardo.
I'm Ankit. Yeah, joining with me is Ricardo. Let's talk about this awful movie. So this takes place 10 years after Phantom Menace, because Anakin says, it's been 10 years since I've seen her.
Yeah, so they go back.
Yeah. So the premise of this is Padme from the previous movie is trying to get assassinated. She almost got
She almost got assassinated. She
yeah,
almost
like
got
2
bit
times,
by
but she lucked out.
Bug. Yeah.
Well, the first time was the ship blowing up at the beginning of the movie. Her ship was attacked. It blew up, but she wasn't on the ship. It was a decoy.
She seems to have a lot of decoys.
Yeah,
On the first
yeah.
one, she was like, "Oh yeah, this person's my decoy."
Hey, whatever, she survived. She's doing something right. So, to protect her, they thought it was a good idea to put Jedis as her protectors.
I mean,
And
why not?
Yeah. They're powerful.
Jedi's are badasses. Have lightsabers. I wish I had a guardian Jedi.
So what they did was, instead of giving a random Jedi, they're like, oh, let's give you one that you worked with before. Give you Obi-Wan and Anakin. So Obi-Wan and Anakin are tasked with guarding Senator Padme because she's not queen anymore. It's like the presidency. They only run for office for like 4 or 6 years. Now, which is weird. Which is weird because I'm like, you're a queen though. Aren't you in office until you die or you hand it off?
In a way, yes.
Yeah, see.
But Star Wars emphasizes a lot democracy.
Yeah, it does. So they come back and they meet her, and Anakin right straight off the bat is like, "Oh, this is so intoxicating," and I'm just like, "All right, kid,
It's been 10 years.
like put it back in your pants." I was like, well, let's chill.
Is that a lightsaber or happy to see me?
So he was. What we learned is Anakin's really hot-headed. He wasn't as hot-headed when he was a kid, but now straight hothead. All he does is like, I could do this better, or I am the best. And while the second attempt, when the bug one you were talking about, when that one happened, what happened? Like,
the bug got released
through the
into
window.
the room.
I'm sorry, this movie's like a blank for me because I hate all these.
You don't like any of them.
I don't really like them too much. Sneaks into the window, right, undetected.
Yes.
And then they sense it from the other room. Comes in, saves her, and Obi-Wan just straight jumps out the window to catch the thing. He's just like, I got it. And then Anakin chases them and like catches them, and they catch the target. And then this is the first time we see Jango Fett. That's the only thing I remember about that whole sequence, is at the end Jango Fett makes an appearance without us knowing who his name is. But everybody assumed it was Boba Fett at first.
That's right, because people know Boba Fett from the original trilogy.
Yeah, but it was not Boba Fett.
Oh my god, it's Boba Fett.
But it wasn't. And we'll talk about that later. He shoots the
alien.
The changeling, right? It
Yes.
changes with a toxic dart and just kills her. So the Jedi Council was like, all right, you go, Obi-Wan, you go look into this, and Anakin, you gonna protect Padme on her planet.
Not the greatest idea.
Oh, no, it was not. Because the remainder of this movie was Anakin just being horny and trying to, like, get it in. And Padme was trying to be the adult and be like, yo, come on, chill, stop, I don't want this. You're like, when you were 5, I was like 15. Like, stuff like that. Like, it was like, relax.
But that doesn't stop Anakin at all.
Oh no, they kissed and did all that jazz. Had a picnic. She accepted the picnic and everything. See, that's the dumbest part. I don't want this. You're inviting it. You invited it to happen. Am I wrong? They had those romantic dinners together. They had those romantic picnics.
It could be a hangout, but yeah.
Oh, I was just like, man, you were inviting it to happen. It was it was gonna happen.
I mean, she could have said no right off the bat at the kids, but she kids and then like, oh no.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no.
She I think she wanted it. Like he wanted it, she wanted it, but she was trying to be more level-headed. Now Obi-Wan went to a planet looking for this bounty hunter, which we know as still at this point we know him as Boba Fett because of the original trilogy. We find out he is actually named Jango Fett. He's a Mandalorian, and everybody, all the soldiers. He lives at a clone factory planet, like a planet with aliens that do cloning, and all the clones are him. Now his son is also a clone of him, just a perfect clone, not a clone that's like advanced aged or designed to like.
Like the closest thing you can get to a
Yeah,
human
it's
being
essentially
clone.
a 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan gets there, makes his connection. The Jedi Council's like, yo, bring him in. And Jango knew for like at that moment, he's like, yo, it's time to go. So he dips and they have this fight in the rain because apparently it constantly rains on this planet, I think. Cool premise.
It was a different scene. Well, that was
Because the whole
probably
planet was like
second-
surrounded by water.
yeah.
It was
That was
interesting.
the second fight scene of the movie, I believe.
Yeah, because the first one was the chase. And then that was like essentially the biggest scene. That's why we'll take 5 to recut it. But while all this was going on, Obi-Wan was trying to catch him, but he gets away. And then we see the popular Slave 1. If it was the Slave 1, it could be Slave 0. I'm not sure. Because the one Boba Fett flies is known as the Slave 1. Not sure. So I'm not going to say it. I'll put something over here. But now while this is going on, Anakin's still trying to shang it on, having these nightmares about his mom. It's like, yo, I need to know what's happening. We got to go Tatooine. Goes Tatooine, finds out his last slave owner sold his mom to a farmer.
To a farmer, yeah.
Or a harvester. And he finds out that he married her. And now he has a stepdad, a stepbrother, and all that jazz. Not satisfied, he goes looking for his mother because he learns from them that his mother went go picking stuff and never came back.
Got kidnapped.
Yeah. So he goes searching, finds her, and this is where the birth of, as I like to call it, this is the starting point of Anakin's turn, because he mercilessly started slaughtering all of them after he finds his mom in one of the tents and she dies in his arm. He gets out there and starts killing them all.
That's the beginning
of his downfall.
Yeah.
And it's not like he just did it to like the adults or anything. No prejudice. Attacked all the kids and everything. It's a wrap.
All the ladies, all the kids, everything that moved, pretty much.
Yeah. And then Obi-Wan followed Slave 1 to Geonosis, the final planet where all the big remaining shit happens. Over there, he finds out that Count Dooku, a trusted Jedi warrior, is now a Sith Lord and a traitor and a villain. He gets caught. But before he gets caught, he sends a distress signal to Anakin, who sends it to the Jedi Council, and they're like, all right, we need to mobilize this. But the Jedi, Yoda was smart. He's like, let the Senate get that emergency power he wants to call war. I'm going to go get that clone army. Which leads up to one of the cool scenes in the movie. So Anakin and them try to go save Obi-Wan. They failed horribly. They failed really bad.
Oh, yeah.
Because Anakin's lightsaber got like chopped in half through by one of the machines. And his response was like, oh, not again. I'm like, man, how often do you break lightsabers? That's awful. But
some people go through their phones, always breaking them, falling them, while Anakin has the same problem with his lightsaber.
Which is bad. I like, man. So they get caught because he has no weapon anymore. They are put in an arena, Coliseum of sorts, with 3 pillars, and
to be executed.
And chained up to it was Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme. It's weird because they had 3 pillars and 3 prisoners. So what if there was only 2? Was there going to be 2 pillars? Was there going to be 1 pillar? Like, what?
It's like, oh, we have 3. Well, hey, we have 3 pillars. How convenient is that?
Yeah, it was so convenient, man. That's the awful part. The CGI was one thing that was really bad. Don't get me wrong, the CGI for the lasers and everything that show up in these next scenes, amazing. And the lightsabers and everything, great. The effects for the clone troopers, man, awful. You could tell they were CGI throughout the whole movie. Like, that was the worst part about it. While they're getting executed, they're trying to save themselves. They know they're about to get wrecked. Mace Windu shows up with this purple lightsaber. He's like, "You're under arrest." They weren't, because they all got away. Well, the most of them got away because they were gonna get wrecked by all the droids. But then in the audience everywhere were Jedis, and they were like, "Yo, it's time."
That's the most you've ever seen. The most Jedis in any of the movies.
So they all get together and they all defend themselves from the droids, try to kill Count Dooku and all that. Mace Windu fights Jango Fett.
Mace Windu.
Wrecked shop. My dude was like, 1 blast, 2 blasts, 3 blasts, chopped head. And then he made the funniest looking face, like looking down at the body, and then, "You next?" Like he made like,
as
like,
you know, Samuel L. Jackson would do. It's like, all right, I'm done here. Who's next?
He's like, "You want some?" Even because Count Dooku was like, had his arm crossed, like all confident. He's like, Jango Fett got this, and then he saw the head chopped off, and he was like, "Oh."
Jango Fett doesn't have this.
He's like, "Never mind, man. I might get wrecked." So they get surrounded. It looks like they're about to get wrecked. Enter Yoda with all the clone warriors and clone soldiers and all the ships and everything, because apparently the clone soldiers come with the ships and everything.
Yeah, right.
Not really bad ships either. They were amazing. So now the Clone Wars has begun. This was the start of the Clone Wars. And it's funny it's called Clone Wars because the only clones are on the good side.
For the second movie, yes.
It was weird. It's called Clone Wars when it's the droid army versus clones. Shouldn't it have just been called Star Wars? I mean, then again, it's called Attack of the Clones. But in the series, it's referred to the Clone Wars, which is why it's weird. Count Dooku's getting away on his speeder to get on his spaceship to get the F off the planet. Obi-Wan and who was it? Anakin. I'm sorry.
Obi-Wan and Anakin.
I'm tired. Obi-Wan and Anakin follow him. Padme falls out of the ship, and Anakin's like, we have to get her. Don't go on. And Obi-Wan's like, follow your duty, man. What was she done?
Follow her duty.
Yeah, and then and then they're like, yeah, keep on going. And then comes a fight between Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Count Dooku. Anakin, being hot-headed as he is, just rushes forward and gets electrocuted and just like thrown to the side. And Obi-Wan's like, I can absorb it with my lightsaber. How you feel? And then they fight, and then he gets wrecked. Anakin gets up, and then he starts fighting before Obi-Wan gets killed.
Gets both lightsabers.
He gets both lightsabers. One gets destroyed. Then he
again
cuts the light power sources off, so it's like dark in there.
Yeah.
And then he starts fighting, and then Count Dooku chops off his hand. It was like a force push, and then it was just like, oh, it's a wrap, I guess. And then you hear click, clack, click, clack, and you're just like, what? And it's just Yoda. He's like, essentially like, old I am. Like, he just walks in, and he's like, all right, lightsaber. He just takes out his lightsaber, and you're just like, what's he gonna do? And then all of a sudden, you just see Yoda going off like he's like 15 years old, flipping everywhere, just going off. I was just like, man, Count Dooku has his hands full. I mean, even Count Dooku.
They don't call Yoda master for no reason, and that proves it.
Yeah, Count Dooku was like, and then Yoda was like, come on, let's be real. And then Count Dooku was like, all right, let's fight. And he was obviously knew he's gonna have to get away, otherwise he will lose. So he tried to stall him by dropping a thing on top of Obi-Wan and Anakin, which Yoda stopped fighting and tried to save them. And then Count Dooku got away.
I want to say, I like Count Dooku's lightsaber design.
Oh,
I don't even notice.
Like it's like the gunblade from Final Fantasy VIII.
Yes.
It's almost like that, but not exactly.
It has the curve.
Yeah,
So-
but it has the curve. So Count Dooku gets away. Anakin gets a golden hand. Obi-Wan is like, "Man, we failed." And then in secret, get Anakin and Anakin and Padme get married because before they entered the Coliseum in the arena, they were like, "I love you," and I was like, "Oh, cool." And then they got married secretly. That's the whole movie, and just I cannot tell you like this movie was not that.
Back in the day, it was pretty hype. This is the one movie you see a lot of lightsabers actually being used. Because in any of the other movies, you don't see that much lightsaber in Episode 3. But Episode 3 is later on.
Like the movie, like when I explain it to somebody, I would explain it just like this. It's not that like there's not much to talk about in this movie when you think about it. You just go, hey, this happened, an amazing action sequence, and then this. That's all it was. Like in A New Hope, you would be like, oh man, yo, blah 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 happened, and this happened, then he met this dude. This one, I'm just like, this happened.
Also, I want to bring up on Episode 2, they brought up the design for the Death Star.
Yeah, that's what the Count Dooku was trying to get away with. It was the design of the Death Star. He gives it to Darth Sidious, who we still don't know who he is. I mean, we do, but like in general, nobody knows who he is yet.
It's kind of weird watching these movies again after watching the whole trilogy because you're like, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I didn't like the release order they did for this, but it didn't matter. Still, the original's still great. If you had to rate this movie, what would you give it out of 5 stars or out of 10?
Let's go with 5-star scale. I would give it a 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
Back then, if I watched it when I was a kid, I would give it a 5 out of 5 because that was like a pretty good hype thing back in the day. But looking at the movie now, a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I'd have to give it like 2.5 to 3 out of 5. Like, and it's only getting that score because Star Wars. Otherwise, it was pretty garbage. I mean, the acting was like...
Anakin's acting was...
Just the acting in general in that movie was kind of stale.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. The script, the dialogue, oh my god. So awful. You guys couldn't think of better lines? Like, oh my god.
I'm sorry, Master.
Obviously, our Phantom Menace one was longer, but we had more people then, so this would have probably been longer if we had more people.
For sure. We would have more to discuss.
But then again, I think even the first one people were more hyped about because remember, that was the first one after the original trilogy. It had Darth Maul. Everybody loved Darth Maul. It had pod racing and all that stuff. There's more to talk about in that one because they had more stuff in that one. This one, it was the first one 10 years later with terrible character development and terrible story and dialogue.
But lightsabers.
Yeah. That was the issue. And all the lightsabers fights that happen in these movies are only like a minute long.
Yeah,
max.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It seems all the fight scenes for lightsabers don't last long.
They don't. That's sad.
No, it's because you get touched by one. You got wrecked pretty much.
But I guess it makes sense because even in a real fight, I don't see people slamming swords for like 40 seconds. Like 40 minutes. Nobody's going to be that lucky. In a real fight, one person's going to screw up in the way they're going to move and then it's a day. You're dead. It's a wrap. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm sorry we didn't go too in depth. I mean, there's not too much to go in depth on this one. All I can tell you is the bad stuff, and I'll just keep on saying the same stuff over and over. Bad acting, bad story, bad dialogue.
Ankit's probably going to enjoy it once you get to episode 4, 5, and 6.
I moderately enjoyed the third one.
Stay tuned for next week, episode 3 then.
The only issue I had with 3 was still some bad dialogue and bad acting, and poor choice in outcomes. But we'll talk about that next week. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ankit. This is Ricardo. Until next time, keep it geeky.
Adios.